Really excited today that I've got my new starter kit for the Raspberry Pi 5 from HutoPI. And this includes everything you need to start your own IoT project. And what I'm going to show you today is the powerhorse version, which contains 16 gigs of RAM. So let's check it out. So let's see what's inside the box. We are opening it up and we then are greeted by the small box containing the Raspberry Pi itself. Now the box, I found it a little bit tricky to open. But the device looks good and I can't wait to turn it on and see what it can do. Yeah, I'm putting it aside. And let's see what other contents we have in the box. What I really liked is that I found a mini HDMI to HDMI cable, which is really useful in many situations. Next we have the power supply, which is a 27 watts USB-C power supply, and this one is really feeling great, and it delivers a lot of power to the device. This means that this is a super capable device and a good upgrade. Next we have the SD card containing the operating system as well. It's a 64 gigs SD card. And I think the last part we have the casing, and then the box is empty. Let's unbox the case. As we can see, it really looks nicely packed and the feeling is really awesome. If we open the cover, we can notice that the device also has a fan included, so this is another indication of the potency of this device. Then on the inside we can find a package which contains some tabs to bind them on the bottom of the device, and we also have a radiator. These are the tabs, as you can see, and then we have the radiator which cools the processor. So you have to manually bind those to your Raspberry device. Time to get to work and install everything together so that we can power on this device and see how it works. I'm grabbing my Raspberry Pi board, and it's important to lean it over a soft surface. So in my case, I'm going to use the case box itself. Now the correct chip has to be identified from the diagram which is supplied on the package. So that is the processor, and you need to install the passive cooling over that processor unit. On the bottom you shouldn't do anything, so those 4 tabs that you can see in the diagram will come bound on the case itself. Now I get the radiator for the passive cooling and I remove the cover, and then very gently I aim at the chip and I simply bind it over there. It looks stable, so I guess the installation is quite okay. I'm checking it out, so it's not going to go off. Yeah, looks nice. And then I need to install the board on the casing itself. So I correctly identify the position which needs to be put in. Now I notice that the power button is actually, a power button, not only a LED, like in the other versions of the Raspberry Pi device. And I see that everything stays together, and it's about time to install the active cooling. But for that you need to plug in the wire onto the board itself. I think you need to have a little bit of soft hands with it, but it's not that complicated. In this case, my socket is covered with something, so that's why I didn't identify it very fast in the beginning, and you need to take the cover off and install the cooling part, the fan. Make sure it's correctly inserted and it doesn't go off. Looks quite stable enough to me. And now I'm adding the cover on top. What is interesting is that the cooling fan does not align properly with the passive radiator which I installed in the previous step, which I think it's by design. I'm not sure exactly why it's like that. And you can also see an interesting thing, that you can also have access to the sensors, to the sensor pins with the GPIO and stuff like that. And now the final step of the casing is to add the cover, make sure it's inserted properly. Yeah, now looks good. And it's interesting that it also has a space in the margins to get cool air in and the hot air out. You can see the connectors. We have Ethernet, we have 4 USB ports, and we need to also bind the tabs on the bottom of the case. So we take them one by one, and very gently we need to bind them. We take the second one, we glue it, now the third one. Make sure they are aligned properly. Only one left. Yeah, and I think that's quite about it for this part. We have everything together. And it looks great as well. I really like this device. Hehe. Time for the next step of this process. We can see we've got the SD adapter, the power supply, and the Raspberry Pi from the previous step. Now it's time to plug it in the socket. But before we actually plug the Raspberry Pi itself, we just need to install the SD card. So grab the package, get the micro SD card from this adapter. Check it out. You can see it's a Raspberry Pi branded. It has 64 gigs of capacity. Now take your device and install the SD card into the designated place at the bottom of the device. It should look like this. Then I do have a micro HDMI to HDMI adapter. You can also use the cable which is supplied, but for me in this case it's easier to use this adapter since I already got an HDMI cable plugged in this monitor that you are seeing in this video. Make sure you get the cable connection to the monitor right. Good. Now, for this, you can connect any USB device that you want. And in my case, the monitor supports like a USB hub at the left side, as you can notice. And I'm plugging this connector. It seems it didn't want to go into the blue ones, so I'm going to connect into the black USB port. Now the only thing that remains is to power it on, and let's see if something happens on the screen. Oh yeah, we can see the Raspberry Pi configuration stuff. So it's booting it up. We are greeted with the welcome to Pi desktop message and the Raspberry Pi icon, and you can also see that the fan is working properly. We wait for one moment. Yeah, so we are welcome to the Raspberry Pi desktop configuration wizard. So I'm going to select a country. In my case, I'm going to select Switzerland. They don't have English by default, but you can tick the use English language and the use US keyboard. So this is what I like. I like to have US and English always. Then I'm clicking next. And here you need to enter your username with your own password. At some point in the configuration process, we are also greeted with the Wi-Fi configuration. I do recommend you to connect to the Wi-Fi and wait for any updates that this device would like to do. In my case, I also use the Firefox as a browser, and now it's the step of checking out for updates. And if it wants updates, I'm going to leave it to it. Hehe, now the device booted up, and we are also connected to the Wi-Fi. And the first thing I usually do in this situation is to change the desktop background. We can see we are having already loaded some images. I'm trying to find one good one. The idea is that I would have loved to have a kind of a preview before, like when selecting the image, but it's still, yeah, it's okay like that. I'm opening the browser and the terminal. It takes a while to do that, but it's the first time use, so it should be fine. I'm going to navigate first to my website. Let's see how fast it loads itself. Yeah, seems to be fine. It loaded properly. And the scroll is pretty fast. I don't see that much lag anyway. Let's try to go to the YouTube and play some video. Yes, I accept everything what YouTube wants. Let's search for something. I would like to see something in a good resolution, maybe 4K. Yeah, why not? Let's see how it performs. And also let's full screen it. Yeah, seems fine. I don't see any lags. Looks okay. Let's also change the settings. For the quality, we can force the HD. Yeah, plays without any issues. I don't see any lags. And the views are amazing, I can say that as well. Yes. I'm pretty much satisfied with the speed of the video, yeah. Okay, let's see in the terminal what we have here. I was curious to see if it's a 64-bit version. Yes, it is. To me, it puzzled me a little bit because in the welcome screen it's saying like 32-bit. But yeah, it seems to be a 64-bit kernel version. In the configuration itself, that one seems pretty limited. I don't find much of interest in that place. But you can see we already have some tools, like for programming we have some IDEs, we also have the Office, LibreOffice Community version, and you can really get started with documents and whatever right away. It's super easy and seems really fast for now. And I know that you can also attach an NVMe, so an SSD on it, but this is subject to another video. Let's see what else have we got in the start menu. I don't really like the fact that it's on top. I like it to have on the bottom of the screen. And let's browse some files. Yeah, of course I don't have many files, but it seems to be very fast. We also have a beginner's guide in the documents folder, which is nice. And it seems we kind of have a good selection of games as well. Kinetics. Yeah, let's try. Cool. So if you have some spare time, you can also use the Raspberry Pi device to play some games, just to have fun and relax. Okay, what else? We also have KiCad. I didn't use this tool before, but I suppose it's useful. We have an SD card speed test. I don't want to run that now. And we also have VLC for the media playing, which is super cool. It's a really good tool. Browsing the file system is really fast. You can also use the SD card copier if we want to do some copy of our operating system to another SD card, which is super cool. Now I also want to make sure that this is a 64-bit version because some tools really puzzle me. I see it's 64-bit, so I can confirm that. Also checking the resources, I see that they are pretty low. In especially the memory is really nice that you have plenty of memory for any daily activity that you'd like to do on this device. So I think it confirms the fact that it's a power horse. For now, folks, that's quite about it related to the Raspberry Pi device. I hope you found this video really useful and entertaining. And if you like my videos, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm new in this business and I would like to get improved. So especially if you want to leave some feedback, don't forget to comment down below or contact me directly if you have any suggestions. So I wish you all the best. Cheers!